Welcome to another episode of Listen to Us Rant About Movies. I'm Wes Ford.
And I'm Zach Harris.
We rant about movies and drink while we do it. On this episode, we will be ranting about what we've been watching since our very quick turnaround of our last episode, and then we'll dive into separate spoiler and non-spoiler rants of Alex Garland's new film, Annihilation, followed by a spoiler rant of Duncan Jones' new film, Mute. Tonight, I am drinking an American wild ale called Wild Ones. It's from Red Cypress Brewing in Florida, which is... We decided to go with Florida beers because that's where the film Annihilation takes place. What about you, Zach?
I am drinking Invasion Tropical Pale Ale by Cigar City Brewing in Tampa.
Brewed right there in nice old Tampa. My home stomping grounds. I just want to read this little description here on the side of my beer because it's going to describe it in a better way than I probably can. It says, Wild Ones is an oak-fermented and aged American Brett beer. Aged for 1 year, it has a big nose of earth, funk, and fruit, and tastes slightly tart, with a white wine oakiness and body followed with a dry finish.
Sounds pretty good.
Let's give it a little taste.
Let's get a sip going.
Cheers.
Cheers, bud.
Definitely got that tardiness in there.
Yeah?
Little sourness. It's good.
Nice. Oh yeah.
It's different. Yeah. How's yours?
It's good. It's like it's got the pale ale vibe, but it's got a little it says it has a mango and tangerine in there. And I feel like that definitely comes through. It's a little fruitier, nice and light.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. I've had the Invasion Pale Ale, but not the Tropicals. That's a new version.
Yeah.
So, sounds tasty.
Check it out, bud.
I'll have to check it out. So, before we get into our watch lists, I'd like our listeners to know something. Zach, today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/LTURAM. You can choose from 180,000 titles from your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player.
Hell yeah.
Still got that deal rocking. It's a great thing. And, hey, look, it's the perfect thing if you enjoyed Annihilation or, if you're interested in the film, you can always read the book, and it's right there on Audible. Get a free download. It's free. Listen to the whole thing right there.
Interesting.
Yeah. And if you like what you hear on this episode, remember you can find other episodes of our podcasts on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. All right, let's get right into it. Zach, what have you been watching?
I haven't watched too much since our last episode.
You're saying that since a week ago, since we recorded our last episode, you had to watch 2 movies and you didn't have any other time to watch anything else?
Yeah, I only watched 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I only watched 6 movies and a show. if that amount of time. But a lot of rewatches. I rewatched Interstellar, Repo Man, and the Florida Project. Which, boy, on another viewing, what a great movie with just the biggest limp dick ending ever. like I absolutely love that movie, but that ending is just not good in my opinion. But
yeah, I gotta rewatch it.
Whatever, teach their own. But I watched The Ritual, which we talked about. Nice. You had watched last time.
What'd you think?
It was a good watch, but overall wasn't like crazy about it. But I'd say worth watching for sure.
Yeah.
A much better setup than payoff. Like you were saying, I agree. I think it starts going in an interesting place, but kind of picks up too fast, and then it kind of like hastens itself along to the point where by the end, I feel like I haven't had enough time to like steep in any of what's happening. Kind of just all like.
Right.
I think it would have been more interesting if they had explored a little bit more. Could have been like longer to incorporate more of those ideas, but definitely some good scares, some good tone stuff, And as much as I don't like in movies the kind of like callback to a singular event that they're like reliving,
Yeah.
I think the production design in the case of this movie made it interesting.
I thought it was well done.
Yeah,
how
like
they brought that into the forest.
Yeah, like the hanging like fluorescent lights like in the forest. It's like at least that's
Yeah.
like a cool visual. At least it's like a new kind of fresh take on that idea.
For sure. Yeah, I liked that too.
But yeah, it was a good watch. Not anything.
Had some good scares.
Yeah, totally.
Like when they're in the cabin.
In the beginning.
Yeah, like near the beginning when after they enter the forest, they're in that cabin. They stay there one night. Pretty spooky stuff. I thought.
Most certainly.
Like I thought that was the height of the horror right there. You know.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good.
And in certain ways, and we won't spoil too much here, but in certain ways, I respected that they took that idea a little further.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I kind of liked that the concept of taking that idea a little further and seeing what was haunting them and stuff. I just didn't like the execution of it.
Yeah, I'd agree.
You
like
know?
on paper, I don't have any problems with like what happens in the movie, but there's something about the way, like the pace of which everything's revealed, and the way that they reveal it that kind of just almost like downplays it within the movie. Like it's not as effective as it should be.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah,
Cool, man. So yeah, I'm glad you pretty much on par with me. Worth a watch, but you may find the ending might be a little disappointing. But there's some good stuff in there.
you know, if you're just on there hounding for some 4K content, just being like, "Where's that 4K content?" You know, might be worth a watch.
There you go. I watched a documentary today. I watched it's called Neat: The Story of Bourbon.
Nice.
And speaking of 4K, sadly it's available in 4K, but since it was on Apple TV, I don't have the Apple TV 4K.
Gotta upgrade,
So
bud.
it would look. I know, I do. It would look incredible in 4K. Even so, without the 4K, it looked nearly like it was because even the 1080 looked fantastic.
Nice.
Like streaming, it looked pretty much like 4K. It was right there. Really well done documentary. Great cinematography, great lighting. Like it was honestly one of the better documentaries I've seen in a while in terms of its aesthetic. Yeah, it looks fantastic, and plus it had like a good little story behind it about like the story of bourbon and kind of what that means to a lot of people in like the state of Kentucky and the act of speakeasies of being with your friends and family and enjoying a good glass of bourbon, like going into that and about the actual making process of it. So it was pretty interesting. And I find I've actually been really into scotch and whiskey lately. It's kind of like my newest passion. But I found a newfound appreciation for bourbon. You know, that's an American-only style of whiskey. Yeah. And gotta get myself some more bourbon in there. You know.
Hell yeah, man. Bourbon boy.
It's good stuff. Yeah. And it's a 2018 documentary. Just came out. Couldn't find it on Letterboxd, but it's on IMDb.
Weird.
It's strange. It's not on Letterboxd.
Where'd you rent it from? Just like iTunes?
Rented it on iTunes, yeah.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. Worth checking out. It was a great rental. If you want to just sit back and watch some cool story about the history of bourbon and its influence even today, it's pretty cool.
Nice.
It looks great. Really looks good. So yeah, that's Neat. The Story of Bourbon. That's on iTunes.
Well, that sounds pretty neat, Wes. Sounds like a neat film.
It's pretty neat. What about you? What else you got?
The only other thing I really have to talk about is I finally watched all of Mosiac, the Soderbergh show. I watched the HBO version though. I didn't finish the.
Right.
I watched about a third to a half of the app, and then the show came out, and then I started watching the show just because the app is amazing, and I think
concept.
I like the concept better, but I just wish that I could like Chromecast the episodes. I don't like sitting there watching it on my phone, you know.
Yeah, that's how I felt too. That's why I didn't finish it, because it's a cool concept in general, but I don't want to like hold my phone. I want to watch it on a big screen.
Yeah, totally, because it deserves to be watched on a big screen, so it looks really good.
It does. It does.
But the show is great. I thought it was amazing. I loved it. Apparently,
Nice.
talking to Sean, who watched the app version, there's a lot of differences in kind of the way things go down almost at the ending, which is interesting. But yeah, I thought it was awesome.
That's cool, man. Yeah, I actually plan on watching the HBO version with Emily,
Nice.
my fiance, because I've heard it's really good. And I've kind of just been holding out. We've got a lot we're catching up on, and it's definitely on the list. It's coming up there. And it's cool that it's available on HBO, so
Totally.
I'm really ready to get to it.
Yeah, I really like the structure. There's not like a super clear-cut protagonist, but one of them, if probably at least who I felt the most so, was Buzz from Home Alone. Is in it, and he plays the cop.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he
Amazing.
plays the cop that's like in charge of the investigation, and I'm all about that casting. It is the best. Like,
Yeah.
so good. It's not like a typical, kind of like investigatory true crime thing. It's making him the police officer in charge of it is a really interesting choice, and I like that quite a bit.
Yeah, all I've watched is just that first video on the app.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm gonna definitely. I don't really remember much about that even, but
Yeah.
I do remember the casting was good, even in that one episode.
Totally. Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's great. And I definitely noticed some differences in the editing and the placement of things, like revealing information earlier or later, just from what I had seen of the app. So I would say that it's probably worth it to watch both, if one were so inclined.
Right. For the listeners who may not even, we didn't even give an introduction.
Yeah,
to this,
that's true.
Who may not know what we're talking about. It's a new project from Steven Soderbergh. He basically created this show, right? And he created it in like an app version to where it's almost like a choose your adventure type of show. You choose the path that you want to follow. But they also took that and like re-edited it and formatted it to like a regular show, which is available on HBO Go.
Totally.
Right? And HBO Now. So, yeah, that's what we're talking about.
It's pretty awesome. And the app has a lot of interesting things of like, there will be a scene with people discussing something that happened earlier, and like a little thing comes up and you click it and then it goes and you watch the other side of that conversation that happened earlier and like go back. Or like, it's like, this character is an artist, check out their art. And then you just look and it's like a gallery of their art, or like a newspaper clipping, which is interesting. So the app has that whole thing over it, but
Right.
pretty good though. I still definitely enjoyed the HBO version.
Based on your rating, you loved it.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, I got to check it out, man. That's Mosaic.
Yeah, I mean, I was like 2 episodes in, and then I
Yep.
watched the last 4. I just slammed them all, like right in a row.
Nice.
I couldn't stop. Not a huge binger, so it's a sign of quality when I just slam right
for
through.
sure. That must be. That's awesome. I watched this movie yesterday. I started rewatching all the Mission Impossible movies because
Nice.
I'm getting ready for the new one.
Mm-hmm.
Releasing in
July?
is it July? Yeah, this summer.
Sometime in the summer.
Yeah, I think sometime in summer. Anyway, it's I'm excited. And Emily, my fiance, hadn't seen most of these. She's only seen like the last 2.
Mm-hmm.
And so I bought them on Blu-ray, got all 5. It's on Amazon for like $20, dude. All
Nice.
5 movies, Blu-ray.
But Wes, what happens when Fallout comes out and they release them all in 4K, bud?
I'll get Fallout in 4K.
Fair enough,
All
fair
right?
enough.
Yeah. But I wanted to watch. I honestly wanted to rewatch them too. I wanted to see all these movies lead up. Kind of a cool, revisitation. And
$20
so we
is
watched-
good too. $20
That's
is
a
a
good
good
price.
price.
I mean, that's really a good price. It's
Yeah.
hard to turn down. So yeah, I watched the first one, and then the second one is the one I want to talk about, Mission Impossible 2, which is actually the one out of all of them that I had never seen.
Oh, really?
Was this one? Yeah.
Nice.
Never seen Mission Impossible 2. I've seen all the other ones.
I bet it aged really well.
Oh my god.
It's
honestly
very dated from what I remember.
It's super dated, but this movie is so bad. It's amazing. It's so bad. It's incredible because honestly, you should watch this, Zach. Just like have a couple buddies, have a couple drinks, and watch Mission Impossible 2. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely open to rewatching it. It's been a long time since I've seen it.
Oh, it's really bad, like really bad. But I gotta respect some of the even like the editing choices and some of like the shots and stuff. Mm-hmm. Pretty cool, man.
It's that woo. It's got the woo factor. You know?
It's got that John Woo. It feels completely different from the first one.
Mm-hmm.
It's a completely different story. The stories and the script is super bad. Probably the golden line of that entire movie, probably of that entire year of movies, is we just threw a snowball into hell. Tom Cruise says
pretty rough.
Real rough and completely not of the times and has not aged at all. Not aged well at all. And but yeah, at the same time, very enjoyable in the sense of it's just something fun and ridiculous to watch. Mm-hmm. And it is like that so bad it's good.
Yeah, I really only remember the opening where he's like climbing and like throws the glasses or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
He climbs. He climbs a wall in the desert. Like one of those stone pillars, in the middle of the desert. He's like, ooh, and there's like close-up shots of his muscles like flexing. Yeah. No rope, no protection, just free climbing this wall because he's Tom Cruise. He almost falls. He does this flip, makes it up to the top, and then this helicopter just appears, and they fire this missile down at his feet. But it sticks, and it's literally a case of sunglasses pops out, and that's his mission. He puts those on. It's just so ridiculous.
And then he throws them at the camera, right? And they like spin towards the camera and explode, and then it's opening.
Yeah, it explodes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, because it self-destructs.
Yeah.
The chase scene of the motorcycles at the end is so like early 2000s of like the like spinning around, cameras and the guns flying, like almost little Matrix style, like trying to steal from Matrix in there.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous and totally revisiting before Fallout, I would say. If you want to rewatch them, it's worth it. But it's definitely the worst of all the Mission Impossibles.
Yeah, I don't remember it aging super well. Although I also don't remember 3. When I rewatched 3, loving 3.
I've seen... I don't know how it's going to age. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I've seen it a few times overall. Mm-hmm. And I remember, just from my memories, it's probably better.
What are all the names? I always get confused with the names. We got Mission Impossible. Yeah. We got MI2.
We got Mission Impossible. Mission Impossible 2. We got Mission Impossible 3. Then we got Mission Impossible 4, which is...
Rogue Nation? Or is that 5?
No, that's the last one.
That's the last one.
Well, now we gotta look this up.
How many are there even in general? 6?
There's 5 total. All right, here
6
it is.
Including Fallout?
6 including Fallout.
Okay.
The Mission Impossible 2, Mission Impossible 3, and then Mission Impossible 4. It's not even called 4. It's Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol.
Ghost Protocol. That's it.
That one I think is the best one in my opinion.
That's the Brad Bird one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that one's good.
Brad Bird. That one in Dubai. That one's so good. Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, which was our very first episode on this podcast.
Yeah, totally. It was good.
And then Mission Impossible Fallout will be the 6th one.
I feel like I always think there's another one for some reason.
No, that's it. There's 6 total, including Fallout.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
they're good. I'm excited for Fallout. I feel like even though for some reason I never get like excited for them, but
they're pretty good though.
But then I see them and I go, yeah, it was awesome. Like they're just a lot of fun. They very much know what they are and are fun.
Yeah, they're just a lot of fun. Good action, smart scripting. The latest ones have been.
Totally.
And they kind of become its own genre in a way. Really. Mm-hmm. Has its own quirks, has its own callbacks. So, yeah, I'm a fan. Mission Impossible, good stuff.
Totally.
Good to revisit.
For sure.
And that's it for me. That's all I'm gonna That's all I've really been watching. I did a couple rewatches, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah, same here. I don't have anything new to discuss.
All right, let's get right into it, man. We got lots to discuss. Let's talk about our non-spoiler rant of Alex Garland's new film, Annihilation, starting right now.
What do you think I do when you're away?
You think I'm out in the garden pining, looking up at the sky?
Why aren't you here?
I gotta leave a day early.
Your husband's here.
Let me see him.
He's extremely ill.
You have to tell me where he was, what he was doing.
It was his decision to go in. It's something they termed the shimmer. We've sent in drones and teams of people, but nothing comes back.
But something has.
You're a biologist. You served in the military.
If I knew what happened,
I could save his life.
The boundary's getting bigger, it's expanding. We're talking cities, states.
you need to know what's inside. So do I.
It's beautiful.
Check this out.
It's like they're stuck in a continuous mutation. Anything interesting in there?
No.
Sharks have teeth like that. It's not possible.
You can't crossbreed different species. What is it?
The soldiers on the last expedition.
They went crazy, or something in here killed them.
Something's come through the fence.
Through the fence?
We have to go back.
I can't go back.
We can camp here tonight. It's destroying everything.
It's not destroying. It's making something new.
So that was from the trailer of Annihilation. Here's a description from IMDb. A biologist signs up for a dangerous secret expedition where the laws of nature don't apply. It's a pretty non-spoiler review of the film.
About as basic as you can get.
Yeah, description. This is directed by Alex Garland, and it was written for the screen by Alex Garland and Jeff Vandermeer, who wrote the novel. It stars Natalie Portman, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Tessa Thompson, Oscar Isaac, and a few others. And it's done pretty well for critics, but has not done well in the box office, which is unfortunate. This is another sort of experiment / failure from Paramount, which sucks because I really do like that they've been taking risks. Like they took Mother, they made Arrival. They've done like these cool movies, experiments, sci-fi films, who have been, for the most part, critically successful, but not all of them have been doing well in the box office. And they sold the international rights of this movie
To Netflix, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so anyone outside the U.S. can't even see this in a theater. And I really think it deserves the theater treatment.
Totally.
For what it is. So anyway, Zach, what are your thoughts on Annihilation?
I liked it quite a bit. I was a pretty big fan. I will say I think it's definitely flawed. And thinking about it more after I watched it, a lot of problems came up, and like talking to everyone else who saw it and just being like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. That doesn't really make sense. But at the same time, even if I was aware of things that were bothering me during the movie, they didn't really hinder my enjoyment of it that much.
Right.
I kind of just didn't care about that while I was watching it. I was pretty engaged the entire time. I think it has a really interesting tone and pacing that I liked a lot. And I feel like I had one more general thing. Yeah, I don't know. I think if you sat down and you dissected it and broke apart all these things and thought about some of the motivations, I don't know if it would all be there. But it really didn't bother me at all while I was watching the movie, and I really enjoyed it quite a bit.
Nice. Yeah, I'm pretty much with you. Same sort of thing. Like, the more you think about the film, the more you can, dissect it and everything. But, when you're watching the film for the first time, that's what really matters. And none of that bothered me while I was watching the film.
No.
While I was watching it, it was a great experience. It was great having, watching it in a big crowd and with loud speakers and a big screen. It was very enjoyable, and it was had me thinking the entire time, like, what's gonna happen? I don't know. This is super weird, and It also brings up some really cool sci-fi concepts that
Definitely.
I hadn't really seen, but also gives me that same sort of almost existential dread that 2001: A Space Odyssey gives you, to where the ending, obviously, we'll talk about in spoilers, but it gives you that feeling of this is beyond human comprehension. We can't understand this, and that in itself has its own kind of fear factor to it.
Definitely,
it's honestly terrifying because I've never seen anything like that. I don't.
Yeah.
How did you describe this? This is not of Earth, and that is inherently kind of terrifying, and that I really like. And you almost get that same kind of feeling in Arrival as well. And I feel like you could compare these two movies a little bit.
Yeah, I like this quite a bit more than Arrival, personally.
I have to disagree. I disagree. I think Arrival's more of a masterpiece to me. I love.
Yeah, I know you're a big fan.
Good. Big fan, but I did really, really like this movie, and in fact, I liked it so much. I 2 hours before I came on this podcast, I finished the novel.
Hell yeah.
Annihilation from Jeff Vandermeer. And I watched the movie, immediately went up and picked up the book the next day. And my goal wasn't to finish it before this podcast, but near the end I was like, I want to try and finish this too so I could talk about it. And in spoilers, I might say some more about it, but I want it to be more about the movie. And I will say that the movie is completely different than the book.
Yeah.
Completely different.
Interesting.
It takes the general concept, some of the characters, and that's pretty much it. I'd say 20% of the novel is actually in the movie.
Whoa, crazy.
Yeah. Alex Garland really kind of took this in a completely different direction, and made it his own. And I actually I watched some interviews, and he talked about how when he was writing this movie he wanted to get Jeff, the author's, stamp of approval before he went and made this, and he approved it. And it's crazy because it's really very different from his novel. But he said that since the book feels very much like a dream, he based his script for the movie like he had been in a dream. He didn't go revisit the book. He kind of tried to remember what the book was like for him, and kind of made that feeling of the book into his own movie, which is very interesting.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I appreciate that too. I mean, I haven't read the book, but I think there is value in making an adaptation that's a different perspective on a similar story, because it gets to a point obviously certain things aren't going to work in a book that do in a movie.
Yeah.
But it's almost, it's more of a covering of a song or something like that, where you can mess with it a little more and make it your own.
Exactly. Yeah, I kind of like that, and then I'm happy that he kind of took it in its own direction. So yeah, very interesting, and it's yeah. I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah. They're both very different, and I think it's cool that he still got permission to make it despite how different it was, and that he didn't go revisit the book and try and recreate it. Oh, this is what I was gonna say, is that the book Annihilation has been known to be almost unmakeable as a movie.
Oh yeah.
Since it was made, yeah. A lot of the hardcore fans have said this, and since I've read the book, I can say it it would be really hard to make the book into a movie. It's just the things that happen are much stranger. It's harder to describe visually. It would like be almost impossible to describe visually. It's more of just like words, and yeah, it would be very strange and probably too weird for a wide release. So I can understand why they kind of went in this direction in that sense too. But yeah, what do you think of the cast?
I thought they were good. I thought that some of them necessarily didn't have... some of the characters fell in kind of like a weird zone where they were trying to develop them and like give them backstory and everything, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it wasn't quite enough to the point where it was in like kind of like a weird zone where I didn't necessarily care for them personally, but... maybe it would have been better if they were treated or just like given less exposition and they were just like people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think some of the, like, I thought Jennifer Jason Leigh was good, and I think Tessa Thompson had some good stuff, but the other two characters I just kind of were like, all right, they're just like there.
Yeah. I mean, they did well for what they were given, but
yeah, like the acting wasn't terrible, although there's a certain scene that we'll get at in spoilers that I did not care for, but
gotcha. Yeah, I don't know. I thought Jennifer Jason Leigh started out all right, but she didn't quite do it for me. I don't know what it was. It was just like her tone of voice didn't change at all throughout the entire film, and she went from like being an enemy to being the friend. It was very strange. Like, I didn't get what was her thing, you know? Like, what was she trying to do? I don't know.
I feel like I got a little bit, but I feel like I also can't really talk about why in the non-spoiler
Fair
section.
enough.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll
feel
talk
me, bud?
more about that. Yeah, I feel ya. Yeah, other general thoughts? I think that I liked the fact of how it was shown visually of the actual shimmer was cool, and some of the visual effects were really cool, and having that sort of terrifying beauty and that like it's horrifying, like what's happening here, but it's so beautiful at the same time. It's hard to explain.
Yeah.
Cool thing to see. Cool thing to
Definitely.
play with. And yeah, it's cool to see like a group of women in front of the movie as well. I thought that was awesome. Natalie Portman, I thought she was great.
Yeah,
she was
awesome.
really good in it. Yeah.
What was I gonna say? Shit. Well, something else. What did you think of the score?
I thought it was good, but I was a little disappointed that I didn't get more of what I heard at the end of the film throughout the rest of the movie. I wanted because based on the trailer, there's like that kind of
weird,
that
like guttural
melody,
noise,
that weird,
almost.
like guttural. Yeah, exactly. That's in those trailers. I kind of thought that might be like the theme throughout all.
Yeah.
And you only got like a hint of that at the end, which is it's a minor critique. Doesn't ruin the movie at all for me. But I also saw that they kind of made like they had that organic kind of folky music in the beginning, and it kind of went more weird and sci-fi near the end.
Yeah,
I think was the concept.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I liked that it started with like guitars and stuff that were very similar tonally to like the music that she liked and was like listening to, and kind of
had that southern twang to it too.
Yeah, kind of as she got more into like the forest and things started to change, the score did as well, and I feel like the score kind of adapted to her in the movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Till at the end where it's at the height is where it becomes like almost like not musical at all, and it's just kind of like noise, which is cool because it also becomes the point where it's like the most unreal or like unexplainable thing that's happening.
Otherworldly.
Yeah, so I really liked it a lot. It was super effective, especially at the ending. And personally, I don't know if that was earlier, if it would have been as effective. You know what I mean?
Fair enough. Yeah, I totally get it. I totally get what they're going for. I don't know. I just I guess I was expecting that. And then the guitar.
It was
started,
definitely
I was like,
weird
this
when
is
it
different.
started. I was
But-
expecting like pretty much an all synth score.
Yeah.
So I kind of liked that
Yeah.
though, that it switched it up, and I don't know. I was a big fan of the score.
Yeah, it kind of dissolves or like kind of crumbles into like a completely different type of style. Just as, you know, things are changing within the movie, things are changing
Yeah,
with the score.
totally.
It's cool. Cool idea. And thought it was effective. Yeah.
One,
Yeah,
I thought that
what
they
else?
definitely thought saying shimmer was really cool in like the first 30 minutes. I feel like they said the shimmer just a few. It's a nitpicky thing, but they were saying it so much that it was like, all right, we get it. Like you don't need to say the shimmer
We
like
get it.
4 times
We
in
get
this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have
Yeah, totally.
Have you been to the Shimmer? Why do you want to go to the Shimmer? Like, is it?
the way,
Yeah,
it's called
it was
the
a
Shimmer.
little goofy, but you know, not that big of a complaint.
Yeah.
I also personally, I thought it was well executed, but did not care for the framing device. I kind of just wish that wasn't in the movie. Like the framing
The what
device of her
device?
at the beginning, at the end, telling the story as it's going, just didn't need it.
You didn't. Well, we'll talk more about it, but you didn't like how, I guess, the arrangement of the
Yeah, I
story,
kind of just wish
basically.
it left more in the dark about stuff. I feel like a lot of the stuff that she talked about wasn't necessarily adding a ton, except for like giving you nuggets of information that could have potentially been delivered in
Yeah.
a different way. Basically, overall, I thought I would have rather just stayed in the forest more and less cutouts because there's also
Yeah.
like flashbacks to her life beforehand that I wasn't crazy about.
Right.
Like I said earlier, though, it's not anything that like majorly detracted from the movie while watching it, but I do think it would
Yeah.
have been a better movie for me if it just kind of
In
didn't.
hindsight.
I just think it didn't need all that stuff, personally.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. I do wish as well that we kind of like saw more of
Yeah.
the forest and more of that exploration. Like I wish I would have seen more weirdness and
Yeah.
experiments and strange things
Totally.
within the forest before. Yeah. Yeah. Totally agree. Yeah. Last thing, I guess, before we get to spoilers, how do you think this movie compares to his previous film?
It's tough to say. I think Ex Machina is really strong, and I think it's probably a better script. It's like a pretty tight, nice like script and good writing and stuff.
Yeah.
But there's something about
Sure.
this one that I might like appreciate more, even though I don't know if it makes for like a better experience. It's like I can definitely see what it's going for. I feel like it's very it's got a very like Cronenberg Tarkovsky vibe, like lots of stalkerish type concepts and stuff. And I do kind of wish it got into that more. But I also understand like trying to like resist that because you don't want to like make it just like a carbon copy of Stalker. But I'm getting off subject.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Ex Machina is probably a better movie, but I think in watching this again, I could like this one more. What about you? Yeah.
I think I'm right there with you. I pretty much agree. Like, I think Ex Machina is a tighter film. It's a more complete, better script, and yeah, I mean they're both different, but yeah, I think that Ex Machina is tighter, but Annihilation kind of goes in a braver direction.
It's more unique.
That I really, it's more unique, and I really like what it did with that, and yeah, I just enjoyed that high sci-fi concept that it ends up being, and I'm glad it went in that direction. So I think, I know,
Yeah.
they both have.
I think Annihilation is more of an experience, and Ex Machina is more of like a good narrative, if that makes sense.
For sure. Yeah, totally makes sense. All right.
Sure.
Want to get into spoilers? All right. Spoilers for Annihilation starting right now.
Can you describe its form?
No.
Was it carbon-based?
I don't know.
Did it communicate with you?
It reacted to me.
You really have no idea what it was.
Did your husband contact you at any point while he was away?
No.
It was his decision to go in.
Why did my husband volunteer for a suicide mission? You have to tell me where he was, what he was doing. I need to know what's inside. I could save him.
So we are now in spoilers of Annihilation. Obviously, if you haven't seen the movie, please, I suggest skipping this and go to our review of Mute, which you can find in our show notes. You'll see the time. Skip ahead. But if you have seen Annihilation, great place to kind of discuss what the hell was going on
Yeah.
this ending. I gotta say, I loved the ending. I loved the where it went with that. Probably my one minor critique is that maybe went on a little too long when she gets knocked out by the alien and then comes back up, and then it's just that knockout made it feel like a tinge too long of that experience.
Yeah, like, oh, we're moving on to something else, and then it's like, oh no, we're just back
nope, it's
where
still
we were.
going. It's like they should have just kept that going. Don't knock her out. Just like have that play out. I get that maybe they were trying to say this was going on for a long time, but I don't know. I felt like that. I didn't like that edit. If that makes sense.
You're talking about when she's in the room with the alien, right?
Yeah, when she's like when the alien's mimicking her and everything.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really like register that at the time, but I could see that for sure.
Yeah, but that was my minor critique. Other than that, love the ending. Love everything about the ending.
What do you think happened at the end, like the very end? What's your take on the actual ending?
My take on the actual ending is that Oscar Isaac is not himself. He is part of this alien copy. He's a clone. Natalie Portman is sort of like the shimmer, I guess, grew inside her. So she's different than she was. But she's still like the same
still
physical
human
body. Yeah, she's still like a human and still herself, but she's changed. She's not herself anymore.
I agree. That's exactly what I took away. There was I saw it with like I don't know, like 4 or 5 other people, and there were lots of different interpretations right when we got out. So
what else did you hear?
Oh, well, someone just thinking it's like, was there like a switcheroo in the lighthouse? Is she a total alien? Like, is Oscar Isaac, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. But for me, I definitely think it clearly, to me, stated that she is not the same. And
yeah, I feel like it's pretty clear that that it is the same, that it is her, but she's different because she sees her cells, for one thing. And then she sees the tape of Oscar Isaac's character go through the same thing, so she knows what happens, right? So she knows that her copy would go away, so she hands the alien the grenade.
Yeah.
And it's different too in that sense, that where the shimmer went away at that point, Area X was like solved and like went away from that action. So obviously it was different.
Yeah.
Because it didn't go away when he did it. Which is kind of cool. I kind of like that wide angle play out of his whole experience.
Yeah, it was cool.
Oscar Isaac and like holding the grenade.
I did.
Cool.
I liked them watching stuff over the camera. I thought the other scene was really effective when he has a knife and he like cuts that guy's stomach open.
It was very effective.
Was intense, man. It was good.
It was intense. I have to say, I think the most intense part of the movie for me was when that character, was it Gina Rodriguez?
Ties everyone up.
Where she ties Gina Rodriguez ties everyone up and like turns on them. It's like, oh, that was a little freaky.
I did not like that she turned on all of them.
No, I kind of thought that was scary.
I thought, well, for me, I guess one of my
got all paranoid.
More major issues is they talk about everyone going crazy, and I feel like based on that video, like, that's a thing. You know what I mean? Like, time is weird, but they only really bring up the time thing right at the beginning. And then I feel like people are questioning, but there's not, like, a lot of confusion. And I feel like I would have liked it more if there were just maybe some, like, subtle things, even in maybe the editing, that just, like, switch stuff up and it kind of didn't make sense. And just have people, like, catching themselves being like, this is weird. You know what I mean? Because that's something that they instill earlier on in the movie. But
they never really reflect on it.
Yeah, and it seems like they kind of just distilled that into that moment where she goes crazy. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you go crazy in here. But I really didn't get a sense of that beforehand. So it kind of felt like a big leap for me. But I will say, having them tied up in the chair and then that fucking bear comes and then it's just all gravy because it's amazing. You know? Like,
Yeah, I thought that was cool, and it really I love the concept that it played with the refraction, like a prism, which isn't described that way in the book at all.
Yeah,
but like as this sense of like, it's just like prism. I thought that was an effective way of explaining what was happening. Of like things like DNA, physics, all things, everything physical of nature, of Earth, of everything, being kind of through this lens and like reflecting and like becoming different things. Really cool.
Yeah,
really
very
cool sci-fi concept. That's awesome. Like I'd never heard of that. That's really cool and done really an effective way.
Totally.
But,
that being said, though, I would have also, or I didn't mean to cut you off. If you
No, go ahead.
I would have also liked a little more. They talk about like earlier on in the framing device thing where she's being interviewed, how like it got worse and worse as they got closer to the lighthouse, and like she saw more flaws and more doubles of things. But again, I feel like they only really established that with like a scene. It's not something that really like runs through. You know what I mean? Like some of the formations get more heightened because there's like the flower people and everything, but like I feel like it would have been easy to just have them be walking and she just like looks over and notices like two of the same plant that look exactly the same, or like looks over here and she's like, that's weird and very unnatural. You know what I mean? But it's really only portrayed in the scene with the two like deer with the flower antlers.
The fact that there's copies,
yeah, which is amazing, and that scene's great. But that was another thing where I feel like they establish, and it's more about them telling you that it's that way, but you don't really get a big sense of it. But you they just like give you one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. This movie is flawed in the sense, like, there are moments where it totally plays out like you are an intelligent audience member, and then there are times where it acts like you're stupid. 100%. Yeah, like, I wish it had a better balance of that, because there's, like you said with, we were talking about earlier, with Natalie Portman's character kind of going back and forth of after the whole event. Yeah. Kind of spoils that everyone dies and she survives, for one. Yeah. Two, literally, it's a narrative machine at that point. Like, those scenes are just like explaining what's happening. It's like, I don't need that. You don't need that.
Yeah, I think overall it would have been better if it just kind of let you take in everything that was happening. Yeah, it's like they go in, and they're in, and then they are out, and that's it. You know what I mean? Yeah. But you can't have everything, you know? And it's still a pretty bold movie, I would say. There's a lot of interesting stuff.
It's pretty unique. Bold. It's definitely not perfect, but it's quite an experience.
For sure.
And you can one flaw I think it has too is some of the visuals don't feel top notch. Like it almost feels a little low budget. Like one scene in particular when they're walking into the shimmer.
Yeah.
It cuts to like the reverse shot of like the helicopter and stuff behind them.
Mm-hmm.
Looks super fake. Like looks really bad actually. But the shimmer itself looks cool. And there's certain moments that look cool, like some of the animals and I don't know.
I see that though. I agree.
Yeah.
But it didn't necessarily detract.
But that doesn't take away.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily detract. It's just like a minor quip.
Shows through a few times.
Yeah.
Also, another thing that I thought was weird, just speaking of them going in, is I was totally expecting them to. Why aren't they like wearing like suits or something?
Yeah. Right.
I thought that was kind of weird. It's like, you know that everyone who's gone in here fucking dies. You know, it's like it doesn't really seem like they take any precautions.
Maybe the shimmer is like, poisonous gas or something. You know?
Yeah, it's like they don't know.
They don't know. No one knows what it is.
So I thought that was a little strange. Granted, then you would have to have the scene where one of them goes, "Hey, I think we can take it off," and they're like, "No, don't take it off," and then they take like the Prometheus.
The air is beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that scene's the worst, but
the terrible scientist moment.
Yeah. But I did think that was a little weird. It's like expecting them to be wearing like big like suits with like the mask like they wear in Arrival or something, you know.
Right.
But not a major complaint, just a little strange.
I do think there's some callbacks to some older films, like total Ghostbuster vibe, right? The suits.
Yeah, I can see that.
With the hog, which Natalie Portman's in the chair, that this face goes right up to her. Total Alien 3 moment right there.
Mm.
Where it's like right in her face, like breathing.
Totally. Yeah, there's definitely some
call-outs
Alien kind of like H.R. Geiger stuff and some very Cronenberg stuff, like I was saying earlier, and some Tarkovsky, Stalker-ish sort of vibes.
I wish that Tessa Thompson's character had a little bit more, though.
Yeah, because she's good. She's a good actress, and she kind of just...
She didn't have much to do.
She didn't have that much to do. Yeah, and I thought her...
They sort of just got rid of her.
Yeah, and granted, I think that was a cool idea of her, like, walking and then just, like, becoming part of it, and she's gone. Yeah. But I thought it was a little weird the way it was presented, and I would have liked...
It came out of nowhere.
I also would have liked to have some more lead up to her just being like, it's a refraction, you know? She, like, walks up and is like, I just got it. I just understood everything in here. It's a refraction, guys. You know? It's like, all right. But...
In hindsight, yeah.
In hindsight. But when I was watching the movie, I was like, oh, that's cool. You know? Yeah. Like,
when that's
didn't
revealed,
really...
it's like, oh, that's pretty cool. I didn't think about it like that, but that's cool. Yeah, I mean... Referring back to the book, like none of that was in the book either. Like the alligator was not in the book. The deer with the antlers were not in the book. The plant thing was not.
Was the bear?
No, it wasn't.
Weird. Were there any like weird animals in the book or not?
There were weird creatures, but you never see them. Like there's this one creature throughout the entire book that's like this. It comes every night. And has this weird growling noise, and it's like self-aware, but they never end up seeing what it is.
Interesting.
And there's no like physical shimmer either.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like they just walk into an area, and weird things start happening, but there's no like physical border that they can see.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, the book's a lot weirder, but in a completely different way.
Yeah.
I feel like the movie takes that concept and heightens it visually, and just like builds on that by showing you weirder creatures, weirder things, more interactions of like the environment and nature like going crazy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Nice.
All right, that's interesting. But
also did not like her cheating on Oscar Isaac and the scenes of them like tickling each other and laughing. It's a little perfect. He's a little like,
Right.
okay, we get it. It's a great relationship,
Yeah.
and now he's weird, blah, blah, blah. And
Right,
then
right.
also, why'd you cheat on him then? And I don't know.
Right.
But loved the part where she's just... she had a great line in that scene.
Looking up at the stars.
Yeah, when he's like, it's because you hate yourself. She said like, no, I hate you, or something like that. It's like, no, it's you. Like, I like that quite a bit. That was nice.
Yeah.
But
There's
yeah,
a little like forceful romance, you know.
Yeah.
Sort of they're an amazing couple and so happy, yet why did everything go wrong? You know.
yeah, and I think part of it is warranted, or like I can see at least what they were going for.
You have to show a
in
little
terms,
bit of that, I guess.
Yeah, or in the
To see
beginning
the
at
difference.
least. Yeah.
To see like the difference, yeah.
In the beginning, but I'm more talking like once we're like in the movie and you're showing it, you know.
Yeah.
I guess there is the like him leaving and then mirroring that he's like wearing the same clothes, you know, and looks exactly the same as when he was there. But I think it's not like terrible, like, oh my god, get back to the fucking, you know.
Right.
But I just overall still think like if you just cut that out and they were just in it the whole time, 5 out of 5.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Let's talk a little bit more just about the very end before we kind of wrap up this. So she goes to the lighthouse. I thought the crystal trees were cool.
Oh yeah, super cool.
Another kind of refraction thing. Goes into the lighthouse, and I like the meteor concept too. Not in the book either. Meteor, not in the book.
Man, this is crazy. So different.
So different. So different. Also, the lighthouse is not the site of like everything.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so she goes in a lighthouse, and I love like seeing like that alien like kind of like nest.
Weird hole. Yeah.
Oh, so cool.
So
and
cool.
Jason Leigh's character is kind of just like becoming overwhelmed by all the knowledge and everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that whole like trippy scene of like the light kind of just
Yeah.
Loved that.
Love its true form, like the weird ball.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I was initially a little disappointed that it just became like a human form. But then it makes total sense for the movie.
It makes sense
But
because
just-
it's like it's trying to mimic what she is.
Yeah,
And
which
so it's like part of that form, but it still was like weird enough to where it was like misshapen enough to where it wasn't quite human.
Yeah.
But not like alien in the sense of something we've seen before.
Mm-hmm. Just thinking about how cool it would have been if it was just her having a showdown with that weird ball. If it was just the weird ball floating around, just be beautiful.
Yeah.
But it's still good. That's an
It's
outrageous.
still When it goes in that direction of showing that, I was like, and the music starts kicking in, I was like, all right, this is amazing.
Totally.
Like that. I love that it went like, and I love that they don't reveal it's like an alien thing in the trailers or any of the promotion stuff. I like how you find that out on its own. I like how it became like an alien movie. Really cool.
I do. I wasn't crazy about the delivery of the title in the end. Felt a little hokey.
Oh, sort of like the light trippiness of the.
Well, just her
Annihilation.
saying Annihilation. She's like,
How did that go
total
again?
annihilation! And then she's like, starts melting away or whatever. It was like,
Oh yeah.
all
that was
right.
pretty-
You know.
Yeah, and the light coming out of her mouth and
Yeah.
stuff. Like that was a little too much.
Yeah, I didn't love that. But then it was quickly followed up by that amazing weird sphere thing. And I was like, all right, who cares? I'm in. Like,
And it was like super weird for like the next 20 minutes.
yeah, it's really scary. It's
Yeah.
effectively like nightmare scary, where everything just
Yeah.
feels off, and it's like, how do I get out of here? And it has a very strange vibe, and I think that's again like the thing I like most about it. It's just like the feeling that it evoked when they were in there. I think it was
Totally.
really effective in building just the tone and like the feeling that you get.
Totally. I totally agree. And I feel like that's like the most effective type of horror for me. I think is sort of that like you can't quite describe feeling of I don't know what this is. What is this? This is not of Earth. This is not of anything that human minds can comprehend. And that's why it's so terrifying. Because we don't know anything about it. And I sort of got that same feeling from 2001. Like sort of thing where he's in the room and he's grown old. And it's just like he's in a whole other realm beyond human comprehension, you know?
Yeah.
It's that sort of like weird horror that I think is really effective for me personally.
Totally.
And, it's not like your jump scare type of scary, but it's your just now unable to describe those unknown things. That's what makes it scary. So
Definitely.
So what would you give this movie?
I don't know.
I've been teetering back and forth.
I'm teetering hard. I'll go 4.5.
All right. I'm glad you went that way. I'm going 4.5 too.
I feel like it's probably
It's definitely a hard 4.
It's a very firm, sturdy, rock hard 4.
Yeah.
But I think just the girth of that 4.
Yeah.
But I think it gets the bump because it's not really like anything else I've seen, and I really enjoy the feeling, and I think it's cool that that's out right now, like playing wide and all even though it's not doing well, which is a huge bummer, but
it is.
It's an interesting movie. And I think there's also something to be said about a movie where I feel like for this past however many minutes I've just been saying all things I didn't like. But then,
right.
But
Still
in the end,
it.
I still, like, really enjoyed it. It's just not something where it ends and you go, oh, yeah, that was amazing, because it ends and you go like, interesting.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
It's a very flat line, aside from, like, a couple sequences that are super intense. But, yeah, I don't know. I thought it was pretty awesome.
I agree. I completely agree. I think it gives it a bump for me because of where it dares to go, where how brave it is actually trying to be, and it's definitely flawed. It's definitely flawed, but I respect it for the high sci-fi concepts that it goes for.
Yeah,
it almost feels like a Twilight Zone episode, and I want to see more of that. I really do, and I think it deserves people to go out and see it, and go to the theaters, go to see this movie.
Yeah, I feel like
we need more brave films like this. Like, we're getting to a point, and this is getting off topic a little bit, but we're getting to a point in cinema where things are going to split off very soon. With the rise of Netflix, all you're going to see in theaters very soon are just franchises. Solid franchises, multi-million-dollar franchises, Marvel, Star Wars, Disney movies, and that's pretty much all you're going to see, because these large production companies and these markets are going to take over, and everything else small that costs too much to risk on is going to be going to the small screen, and that's sad. I don't like
totally.
That.
Yeah.
And this is the last of those movies we might be seeing.
I also feel like this movie greatly benefits from seeing it in a theater, just in the sense of, like, distraction. That
yes,
it's very, like, trancey and, like, slow.
Deserves your full attention.
Yeah, and I think if you're watching it at home, even if you're paying attention the whole time, but, like, somebody walking in, it's just it really,
someone's gonna be on their phone.
You benefit from just, like, sitting with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah, we're almost forced to. You have to focus on the film. Yeah.
It's just the pace that it sets, I think, can easily be broken by, like, oh, I'm gonna pause and, like, grab a drink.
Exactly.
But it's just, like, very I don't know. I don't want to say hypnotic, but like trance-like, I guess.
It's cerebral.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a total great theater experience, and if you haven't seen the movie, go see it.
Definitely.
And yeah, glad we agree on that. Glad you liked it, man.
Yeah, it's great. I loved it.
So let's go on.
Can't wait to pick up that UHD.
Oh, buddy.
Though. Saw there's an announcement. There's a Blu-ray up, no UHD yet. Let's hope that comes around, because that baby
I hope
better
they
come
release
out.
it.
And also, something that I never mentioned also real quick is that the bloom and the visual, just like the look of the movie and the lighting and everything.
Yeah, it looks good.
Finger looking good. Love that shit. It was amazing.
Yeah, it looks really good. Before we get into our next review, I'd like to discuss a special deal from our sponsor. For the listeners of the Listen to Us Rant About Movies podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. You can download your free audiobook today. Go to audibletrial.com/LTURAM. Again, that's audibletrial.com/LTURAM for your free audiobook. Yeah. All right, so let's move on to our spoiler-filled review of the Netflix movie Mute, starting right now.
Do you know what it is to make your dreams come true, Leo? I've seen you working downstairs. You're a good man. As a barman, should not punch the fucking customers.
I don't deserve you, Leo.
I love you so much, but you don't know me.
I want to know what the deal is with this crazy bartender.
Sure you want our help with this?
This kind of thing hurts my reputation.
Daddy's gotta go. Oh, no soda.
Your girlfriend has secrets. You lost, mate? Take a hint and fuck off.
Not very talkative.
Something's going on.
You need to maintain a sense of humor, babe. You gonna give me some trouble, big boy? Or are you gonna channel that famous Amish serenity?
Leo, I need to tell you something.
This is gonna stop right now.
It ain't a secret anymore. Would you do anything for her?
Say you're sorry.
Fucking say it!
Why the hell can't he talk?
He doesn't need words.
All right, so we are in spoilers for Mute, guys. We're going to talk about spoilers because we're just going to be flat out honest with you and say we both did not think this was did not think this was a good movie.
Yeah, this movie is a fucking fat ass stinker. I just watched it right before the show, and there's a lot of movies that are stinkers, but I'll like the first 45 minutes, and then it's like, oh, it really just lost me there. But this one, I think about 5 minutes or less into the movie, I was just like, fuck, this is going to be rough. This is not going to be good. This is going to be really bad.
I thought the same thing. I was like 5 minutes in, I was like, this is bad. This is really bad.
I literally paused it and went, oh, shit, this is 2 hours. Fuck.
Yeah. All right, so let's back up a little bit and say, all right, so this is a movie by Duncan Jones. He was famously known for making Moon, which I actually really love. I love Moon.
I like Moon. I didn't love Moon, but I like Moon.
Fair enough.
It's his best movie, for sure.
It's his best movie. I didn't love Moon either, but I really liked it at the time. Haven't seen his second film. What was it?
Source Code.
I didn't
really like it very much. It's fine.
We reviewed Warcraft. Not a good movie.
The best thing about Source Code is just that it takes place in Chicago. I was just like, oh, there's a Chicago spot. You know, this is like all I did the whole time. It's kind of boring.
So it's kind of known that, other than Warcraft, his movies take place in the same universe. And
Which
so
is,
you get that.
I'm out on that.
In this as well. You
I'm out on that.
You get some Moon cameos in Mute. But yeah, so this is a movie that was released on Netflix. It's by Duncan Jones. Stars Alexander Skarsgård, Paul Rudd, Justin Theroux. It's based on a movie that Duncan Jones wanted to do, like when he first started making movies. Apparently, this was like his first few concepts, like back in film school.
And it shows. And it shows. Yeah.
But it's about, and here's a description from IMDb. A mute bartender goes up against his city's gangsters in an effort to find out what happened to his missing partner. This is clearly like a sci-fi movie based on Blade Runner.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much like student film, saw Blade Runner, was like, I want to make a movie in that, but more sex robots and more ridiculous things.
And also no reasons why it should be that. And
no reasons why it should be that. And let's just go ahead and make the main character Amish, because that's a thing.
Yeah. Well, like I think that's potentially an interesting idea.
Potentially,
but
I just don't feel
it's just not
executed.
It does nothing for the movie. There's literally no reason in the movie for it, because he immediately gets a cell phone and just uses it, and it's like, okay, so it's just whatever. You know, why is he Amish? I don't know. Who fucking cares? So he can be mute. Why wasn't he just born mute? I don't fucking know, because I guess this tragedy had to happen, and he had to be Amish. By a
shark, man.
Just fucking brutal.
Yeah, it's a very brutal movie, and there's a lot going on here. There's his plot, so he's trying to find his missing girlfriend who is kidnapped, who is this stripper bartender lady who gets kidnapped. Doesn't know what happens to her, has to find her. He's mute because he got injured when he was a kid.
But also, like, why does he even have to be mute? Like, what does that add to the movie? It adds nothing to the movie. It's just a thing to make his character.
Zach,
yeah,
it's called
but
mute.
Like, what thematically does that do? Nothing. He just writes on paper, and that's how he talks. The reason that he's mute is so people can go, hey, what's that? And then he just goes, oh, okay. I wrote it down. There you go.
And also, he's Amish for some reason. Like, he's mute and Amish in a futuristic world.
Just
and his,
fucking cuz.
It's just weird.
Yeah, his apartment, like, looks like an old, like, house, and it's like, how expensive was this to have this giant apartment that probably you had to custom make to look like an old house, because why would this exist in this, like, universe?
But you're not really Amish because you're living in the real world.
Why are you living in this city?
Amish.
Why are you living in a city if you're Amish? Surrounded by technology. It makes no fucking sense, especially because it's not a thing where the cities are gigantic and then it's a wasteland like in Blade Runner, you know? It's like everyone lives in the city, everywhere else is a garbage dump.
It's literally
they literally just drive out to the country at the end, and there's more of just like fine land. That's the country. And it's like, that's probably the place to go if you're fucking Amish, not the middle of this downtown Blade Runner city that literally has no bearing on anything. It is the fucking worst. This movie's a piece of shit.
Bad.
Oh my god.
So bad.
It was a trial to sit through this movie. I literally checked so many times to see how much time was left. I was like, oh my god, 45 minutes is left. Fuck. Like,
me too, man.
It is brutal.
I was like, this movie's brutal to get through. But like, there's that whole thing too. Like, that's the main plot. But there's a whole other plot going on with Paul Rudd's character. Right?
Yeah.
He's like this gangster surgeon who who takes in people and steals like their implants or gives them implants. It's not quite clear.
Yeah.
And he has a kid, and he's kind of evil, but he's not.
But he also, like, really cares about that kid a lot.
He, like, really cares about the kid, but he, like, fucks other people up.
And he's also
does terrible things.
Like, what is gay, but not. He's, like, weirdly fluid with Justin Theroux, but then they also talk about, like, having sex with other people, and it's this, like, weird relationship. And I felt like there was this attempt. Yeah. There was this attempt to, like, have everything in the future be like more like gender fluid and, you know, like there's trans characters and all this stuff, and it's like those are interesting ideas, but not when you just like shit them out and do nothing with it. You know what I mean?
But also the sex robots
are the stupidest fucking things I've ever seen.
Terrible design for one.
Because
fucking terrible design.
Yeah, because literally right now, somewhere in the world, there is a better, more realistic looking sex robot. So if we have like weird, like, if we're living in this sci-fi society, why do they look like fucking robots? It doesn't make any sense. Because there's also there's not
like classic metal robots.
Yeah,
with boobs.
With boobs. It's like, did a 12-year-old design these robots? Seriously? Because also there's no robots around. It's not like robots are part of the society. So who's watching this fucking stupid robot with boobs? Is the most boneheaded thing. And like,
it's like, who's attracted to this robot?
Yeah, and there's that. Was that Dominic Monaghan who has the 2 sex robots on his bed or whatever?
I think so.
It's like, okay, what is this? He like gets off on these very clearly robots. Like,
no, yeah, that was totally, yeah, I know what you're talking about now. Yeah, so he has these 2 robots who are fucking each other. He's dressed like a Japanese geisha, and he has all these like weird pictures of, I guess, other strippers in his room. It makes no fucking sense. This movie was really hard.
This movie was literally not thought out for 5 minutes. Like Duncan Jones, this was his passion project because he wrote it while he was taking a shit when he was like 18 years old, and then literally didn't do anything with it until he made it. Because it is the least thought out universe I've ever seen in a sci-fi movie. That is a very bold claim and probably not true. But I don't know.
What? Sometimes when you write a script when you're like 18, you should like either throw that shit out or rewrite it completely, because it feels like a 17-year-old wrote it.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's a passion project.
Never touch it again.
It's a passion project in the worst way, where it's like, I can tell that this is what you pined over in film school because it is a film school movie. This was like when I'm at a film festival and there's like a student film, and then I go, oh fuck, this is the one that's 18 minutes. God damn it! You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, it was literally that, but it's like, oh, this is the one that's 2 hours long. Fuck me, I have to sit through this whole thing.
It was given millions of dollars and stars incredible actors.
And I'll say Paul Rudd was good in it.
He was good.
He was the best part of the whole movie, even though his character didn't care about
all
them,
over the
but
place.
Like just in terms of like sounding like an actual person who sang things, he did the best. And that's not belittling his performance, but more so everyone else's who sounded like they went in and ADR'd like while they were sick and could not emote like at all. Like everything sounded so weird.
It was a ballsy role for Justin Theroux too. It was weird to see him in like a role like that.
Yeah, and also why the fuck was he a pedophile? That was the stupidest shit I've ever seen.
Another side plot. It's like, okay,
just a side plot that means nothing, and then you find out about it. It's just this fucking gross side plot that has no bearing on anything else in the movie. And then Paul Rudd finds out about it. He's like, you gotta stop being a pedophile, because that's bad. And he's like, okay, I will, I'm sorry. And then he's like, oh shit, I got my papers, let's go to the mall. And then it literally just cuts them, like, woo! Like, partying in a Jeep. And it's like, you just found out that this guy's a fucking pedophile, and you're just, like, hanging out with him, and you just go, hey, give me your wrist, slap it. Alright, bad boy, now let's go to the mall. Like, what the fuck is that?
It's very strange.
It is it is so tone deaf. And like,
very tone deaf.
It's bad. And not only bad in the sense of bad for the movie, it's like a bad thought process to treat pedophilia like that in a movie. Like, it's not good. You know?
I agree. And well, its only payoff is that when, obviously we're in spoilers, Paul Rudd is dying, he looks up and sees that he takes his kid.
Yeah.
Like Justin Theroux
and that is the most
it's like a revenge
part about it. And
it's pretty fucked.
And it's like
pretty fucked.
Because it feels, I don't know. It's like Justin Theroux isn't like made to be a villain, really.
They make him look creepy.
Yeah,
they try to make him look creepy.
But like a lot of the times you're like hanging out with these guys, so even though they're like the antagonist to the, you know, whatever the fuck the character's name is, protagonist, but
yeah.
it doesn't necessarily like make them. It's not like when it cuts them, you're like, these are the villains. You know what I mean? Because you're hanging out being goofy with them.
Yeah.
It's just really frustrating because that part like was really gross, and not only gross because of like what's happening in the movie, but just like a gross thought process that's just like, I don't know, it felt like a weird like moment in like a Saw movie or something. Like he's like watching the security camera of like a pedophile walking into his child's room, and his dying thoughts are like, my kid might get fucked by my friend. It's like, that is the most fucked up stupid shit I've ever seen. Like, yeah, it's like not cool to write that. You know what I mean?
No.
And have it be like a weird like payoff. Like, what are you thinking? This is disgusting. Like,
yeah. I mean, he gets it. He gets what's coming to him from Alexander Skarsgård character, which I gotta say, sidetrack. I didn't think that he was bad either. Like I didn't think Alexander Skarsgård was bad in his role. The script and the world building and everything around all of the actors was terrible. I thought like Alexander Skarsgård like had like a good look to him. Like he looked kind. Like he played a good mute, I thought. But I don't know. I didn't think he was bad in it personally. I
didn't think he was terrible, but I didn't think he was good. Everything about his character,
everything about his character that he was portraying, that he had to portray, was not good. Yeah. And yeah, I mean that's the root cause of the entire movie of it being so freaking bad.
Just a fucking shit, fucking garbage movie. Just a big piece of shit. And it's frustrating because it's like I feel like I was holding out hope for him, and I was like really excited to see this. And I also felt like it felt kind of buried already before it came out. I was like, oh yeah, like we didn't know it was coming out, and this is a movie that I've heard about for years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was pretty buried when it came out.
And like there was not really that much press about it beforehand. There were no reviews the day before it came out. No. And I don't know, it's like Netflix gave him complete creative control, and I've always been giving him the benefit of the doubt, and it's like, this is complete creative control, and you're still standing behind it. Yeah. Which I guess you can't just be like, fuck you, Netflix, my movie sucks. You know, I'm out.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just like, man, I am fucking out, Duncan. I'm sorry. Like it is.
Me too.
Boring. Doesn't make any fucking sense. It's not thought out.
It doesn't do anything interesting with its concepts. It doesn't do anything new.
Nothing new.
It plays in worlds that he completely stole. Didn't do anything new or original.
And worlds that it doesn't even need to fucking take place in. Like, why do they need to be in this Blade Runner city? It serves nothing for the movie.
You're right. It does nothing. It could be in modern day times.
Yeah.
It would be the same fucking movie.
It's bullshit.
And it's not even done well. It's done in those cities, and it's done in Blade Runner cities, and it doesn't look good. It's done worse.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel... It feels like a lower grade quality version of a copycat version of that.
Feels like a fan film that is constantly looping, that I can't stop watching. It is brutal. And it looks like shit. It looks bad.
Looks like shit.
There is no composition. It's just all like shoulder rigged, shot over the shoulder dialogue, and like, I don't know. It did not feel composed at all. It didn't feel like any care was really put into the construction of like a scene visually. It was just like,
yeah,
all right, they're just like talking, and then like I shoot them talking, and then it cuts to the next scene. I don't know.
Yeah, man.
The more I think about it, it just like makes me mad. Like I just like did not like it at all. It was garbage.
I think I can't trust Duncan Jones anymore. This was definitely the nail in the coffin because I really liked Moon. Didn't see Source Code, and each movie I feel has gotten progressively worse.
Definitely.
progressively worse. And I mean, Warcraft was bad, but it's like, okay, that's Warcraft, not his original source. What can you do with it? Whatever. Here
Yeah,
you go. You
and
have
like
an original script, you have everything all up to you. This is what you make? This is bad, man.
Yeah, and it's like at least Warcraft, while not a great movie, was like a movie about like big ogres and like big dumb like swordmen fighting.
Yeah.
And like was just, even though it like clearly took itself seriously in a terms of like its own story, at least was trying to have like be a fun action movie. But there is not anything fun or intriguing, interesting. There's just like nothing to this movie. It's trying to be a noir, and it's not. It's not an action movie. It's not an inspired sci-fi movie. The world literally doesn't make any sense, and it counters on itself. Like, okay, like early on in the movie, the phone. This is the phone of the future. It's 3 times as big as the phones that are now. What the fuck are you thinking? Who would design a phone like this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, maybe you're going for like retro
say,
futurism, but I don't know.
Well, let me say, she does say this phone is an older model.
But is this an alternate timeline where like this is actually just like 20 years in the future or something? Because
it's like a futuristic alternate Berlin.
Do you know when it's supposed to take place though?
It doesn't say what year, I don't think.
Just because like I get that it's supposed to be an older model. But if this is technically supposed to be in the future, it's like, I don't know, like what I have in my hand right now is way better. So like,
yeah, I know.
And that never existed, and no one would ever design anything that looks like that.
It's trying to be like a retro future, but that's the only time that is applied.
Though. Yeah.
But that's the only time that concept is applied. Everything else is trying to be futuristic. It's just all over the place. There's no.
It makes no fucking sense. Yeah. It's. Like the sex robot thing.
The sex robot thing is
it's like, who are these sex robots for? People that have robot fetishes? Like, that's it. It doesn't make any sense otherwise. Like, just the universe made no sense. And there were a million fucking things that I thought while I was watching it that I can't remember now because I'm starting to get tipsy. But
yeah, do it.
Clearly ranting here.
The robots are like. They're like the robots from the Jetsons.
Yeah.
Boobs.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
But it doesn't match anything else in the entire movie or the universe that it's set in.
Nothing. And there's no other robots. Where are the other robots?
There's no other robots. There's
no
other robots walking around. It's not like robots are a thing. They're just literally robots to be thrown around on this pole. It's like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, it's literally just for people who... the 0.5% of the population who may be attracted to that one thing.
Yeah. It's so stupid. Oh my god. It was like honestly shockingly bad. I was surprised at how much I didn't like it. I thought it was just gonna like not pay off and just be kind of like a limp weenie, you know? But it's like actively a bad movie. It is bad.
It's really bad. It's really bad. In fact, if we hadn't chosen this movie ahead of time to be reviewed, I would have not finished it.
Yeah, if we were reviewing it, I would have shut it off for sure.
I would have shut it off too. Like, I probably would have shut it off max 30 minutes in. I was ready to not watch it anymore. It was fucking brutal.
The first hour I got through, and then the second hour was... I fell asleep during it, and I had to... And I woke up and I was like, fuck, I gotta go back. Like, like, I was in the middle of... It was in the middle of the day at 2:15, and I fell asleep sitting up. That's how fucking bored I was during this movie. It was so fucking boring.
Oh, yeah. And I feel bad for Paul Rudd, man, because I do like Paul Rudd in general.
And he's the best part of the whole thing.
He was the best part of the movie, yeah. It's just a bad script, dude.
It's very bad.
A bad script.
Just a stinky fart whistle of a movie.
Terribly directed. Terribly shot.
Yep. Not thought out. Don't give a shit about the girl that they're...
No, you don't give a shit about the
fuck.
girl.
And also, they just have sex with the door open? That was fucking weird.
Yeah.
They, like, he shows her the shop, and they go in, and she just, like, takes off his shirt, and literally, behind them, out of focus, is the door to a crowded street open.
I know.
It's just like...
It's so...
It's just like, you didn't think about anything. You didn't think about one thing when you were making this movie. Like, you didn't, like, watch that? Did you tell your team of people that were working on it, shut the fuck up and don't, like, give me any, like, advice? Because someone should have, like, pointed that out. It's fucking weird. There's a lot of things that make absolutely no sense in this movie.
Why is she with him? Why is he going to clubs? He's Amish. Why is he why is he in the city? Why the fuck is he Amish?
Yeah.
Why
makes no sense.
Why is there a big Amish population in this Berlin futuristic Blade Runner city world? Yet the rest of the world, other than that city, is completely normal. They go to that bridge and like have the whole scene there. And then he shows like the bench, I guess. Like, so was Justin Theroux once with the girl, right?
I guess, yeah.
And so they like wrote a heart on the bench that they went and visited.
And also, like, why does this bridge have a weird gate on it that you can just cut the lock off? Like, what is the point of that gate? When would that ever be a practical thing to have on this bridge? What bridges have these gates?
Why would a bridge have a fucking gate on it?
It makes absolutely no sense! He can't just throw him over the rail. You have to write in this thing where there's a lock that he, like, laser cuts off and then kicks this open, this, like... And oh my fucking god, when he spoke, Jesus Christ. And the girl... And he spoke because the girl's gonna fall off of a bridge. Like, that little girl would fall off of a bridge. Like, Jesus fucking Christ.
She was just literally just looking over.
She's just like sitting there. He's like, no, it's so dangerous. Don't do it. It's like, what do you think she's going to be like? I want to help. I'm going to jump off the bridge to, I don't know. It was just like, it's like boneheaded how bad it is. It's nothing. It's absolutely really nothing bad. Was thought out. It almost feels like 18-year-old Duncan Jones wrote it and then had a gun to modern Duncan Jones's head. It was like, don't fucking change anything about this.
Don't change a fucking thing. It's a masterpiece.
And I don't know how old he is or when he actually wrote this, but it just feels...
It was when he was younger, for sure.
It feels...
I mean, that was known.
Feels like that in a bad way. It definitely feels like you gave, like, a film school kid who's seen, like, only the classics at a big budget, and they just, like, fucked it up, and it's a 2-hour-long student movie that sucks.
Listen, I've written stuff that I'm ashamed that I've ever written.
Oh, same here.
When I was a kid.
Yeah, definitely.
I've written things when I was much younger. But I would have the fucking experience if I was in this position. For one, I have the experience, and if I had the money, I would not take this old script that was like a passion project and then make it verbatim from what it was when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I would at least take that and completely spin it in a new direction, or have other people have input on this movie and tell me this is not good. You know, like... Yeah.
Because, like, I don't know, maybe he did do a ton of rewrites and all that, but it just does not feel like it. It doesn't feel like... It feels like weirdly, like, late relevant. Yeah. And, like, I don't know. There's just... Absolutely. There's literally... I can't find much to like about it. Except for either. Paul Rudd. And I don't even think it's that great of a performance. I just think he's, like, a likable guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he delivered the lines not sounding like a fucking robot. So...
Yeah. I completely agree. All right, well... Is there anything else you want to add to it? It's a big pile of poop.
I guess the only other thing is the score is disgustingly overscored, and the score that was there was absolutely terrible. It sounded like he typed in sci-fi on SoundCloud and just, like, downloaded all the, like, emotional moment sci-fi, moment sci-fi. The score was really bad. I did not like it at all. and there was way too much of it. Maybe it would have been okay if it was just used sparingly, but it was like, it was so constant that it was, and not enjoyable.
By far, probably the worst movie I'll see this year.
Yeah, let's hope it's all up from here, because that was pretty bad. I don't know. There's a lot of movies that I watch and, like, maybe I don't like it because there's, like, gross ideals in it or it didn't age well, or maybe I don't like it because it doesn't pay off, but very rarely do I have to sit through something that 5 minutes in I just know is going to be an absolute disaster. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then
seriously,
I was like,
5 minutes in.
Yeah. It was like him talking to his girlfriend, and I was just like, I'm just like smelling the shit stink already.
Yep.
It's bad.
This movie is fundamentally bad. Yeah.
I did like the drone food. That was fine.
Yeah.
If I have to pick two good things to say, and a third good thing I'll say is the three boys with the black mouths and white eyes was like a cool thing that had no place being in the movie and didn't mean anything at all, and was just a stupid non sequitur that was didn't have anything to do with anything, but it was a good visual, and that's it. That's about all I liked. It was pretty terrible and gross. The pedophile thing is like bad. I don't know why that's in there at all.
I can't even remember, honestly, all of what happens in this movie because it's completely incoherent to me.
Yeah, the middle I fell asleep during, like I was saying.
I don't even know what happened. Even
rewinding it and watching it again, I was like, I don't know, like, what's going on. Like, I definitely was asleep earlier than I thought. Like, I gotta rewind and see what was going on. And then I watched it again, and I was like, not really sure that helped. You know? Yeah. Could have got away with that, sleeping through that 15 minutes and just been totally fine.
Yeah.
Because it's just a bunch of stupid jargon that doesn't mean anything.
It's just incoherent, man. It is the middle of the movie is completely nonsensical. It's bad. It's really bad. So what do you rate the movie?
Give it a 1.
Yeah. That's exactly what I'm giving it. 1 star.
It's a piece of shit.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
It's very bad.
I never give movies that.
Yeah, I don't either.
Star.
Usually I'm a 2 if like the worst thing I've seen in a long time was like a 2.
Yeah. Totally agree. This movie is a 1 star.
Because even what it thinks it's excelling in with like the universe, usually with movies like this, oh man, the script sucked, but the world building was so cool, or like the visuals were amazing. Something. You know what I mean? But it's just like literally every single area of this movie was shit. Like nowhere it excelled. It excelled nowhere in this movie. Everything was subpar. And nothing was warranted. It looked like dog shit. The performances were not good, except for Paul Rudd, which was probably, like I said, because he's likable and contrasted by everyone who acting like robots.
Yep.
Score was shit. Editing was shit. It was really long. It was fucking boring. Why am I watching this movie?
Yep. Well said. That is it. That is our rant of Mute. And if you haven't seen it and you listen to that, don't need to watch it.
Yeah.
But if you have seen it, we understand your pain because it's pretty fucking bad.
It was a trial.
So that's going to conclude the episode for today. As always, you can find other episodes of this podcast on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, YouTube. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. If you enjoy the show, please consider leaving a review on iTunes. Every rating brings us to more listeners. You can email us at listentousrandommovies@gmail.com. Thank you to our Patreon producer, Sean Pierce, and Patreon supporters. You too can be a producer and supporter of this podcast by visiting our Patreon page and becoming a monthly patron for as little as $1. Visit www.patreon.com/LTURAM podcast. Alright. So that's going to end it for today.
2 sci-fi flicks. One's great. One is most certainly not.
Yeah, exactly. Alright. Good talk, Zach.
Good talking, man.
Alright. Till next time.